The stale coffee did little to cut through the pre-dawn chill in Eli Vance's truck cabin. His eyes, heavy with the promise of endless miles, tracked the highway blurring beneath the dashboard lights. Another day, another solitary vigil against the vast, indifferent road. Mid-morning, the calm was shattered by the crackle of the radio. "Eli, you there?" Marcus Thorne's voice, abrasive and impatient, cut through the static. "Got a new ETA for you. Client needs this yesterday. You'll need to shave a few hours off that logbook if you want to make it." Eli's jaw tightened. "Marcus, you know my hours. That's not happening. I'm running legal. I won't falsify my logs for an unrealistic deadline." A frustrated sigh hissed from the speaker. "Just get it done, Vance. Or someone else will." Eli gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. Marcus's demand wasn't just a suggestion. It was a directive to break the law, to gamble with lives. He'd seen the aftermath of shaved hours, the twisted metal, the broken families. Flipping open his worn logbook, he traced the neat, accurate entries, each one a testament to his unwavering commitment to safety. His record was spotless, his conscience clear. It was a burden, but one he carried with quiet resolve, a shield against the chaos of the road and the callousness of men like Marcus. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the highway, mirroring the ache in Eli's shoulders and the persistent throb in his lower back. He stretched, a grunt escaping his lips, then glanced at the faded photograph clipped to his visor. His wife, his 2 daughters, their smiles a silent promise he worked to keep. A flicker of doubt. Was it worth it, this constant fight? Passed through him. Then the image hardened his resolve. For them, he would endure. Dusk brought him to a sprawling, crowded truck stop. Eli navigated his rig through the maze of trailers, only to find his assigned spot unusually far from the main building, nestled between 2 abandoned wrecks. A text buzzed on his phone. Asterisk. "Making good time, Vance? Or are you just enjoying the scenery?" It was Marcus. Eli sighed, a slow release of frustration. This was Marcus's petty revenge, a passive-aggressive slap for his earlier defiance. He knew the game. At the fuel island, the air hummed with the roar of diesel and the low murmur of conversation. "Another impossible run from Thorne," a gruff voice grumbled from a nearby pump. "Says I gotta hit Dallas by dawn." "Ain't no way to do that legally." His companion nodded. "He's got his golden boys, though, don't he? The ones who can make any deadline, no questions asked." Eli filled his tank, the words washing over him. He felt the familiar weight of shared injustice, a silent bond among those trapped under Marcus's thumb. Later, in the greasy warmth of the truck stop diner, Eli's phone vibrated again. "Marcus. Vance, listen up. We've got an urgent, unscheduled load. Needs to be picked up in an hour, delivered 5 states over by morning." Eli's grip tightened on the phone. "Marcus, that's a 14-hour run. I'm due for my 10-hour break." "I can't. It's illegal." Marcus's voice rose, sharp with contempt. "I don't care about your beauty sleep. You jeopardize my schedule. You jeopardize your job. Get moving." Eli's jaw was granite. "I won't jeopardize my license or anyone's safety. My answer is no." Eli sat in the quiet darkness of his cabin, the diner's distant hum fading into the background. Marcus's threats echoed in his mind. The words, a cold promise of trouble, maybe even termination. He knew the cost of his integrity, the potential loss of the job that fed his family. The fear was a dull ache, but beneath it, a different emotion stirred. A quiet, resolute pride. He had stood his ground. He had chosen the right path, even when it was the hardest. He stared out at the sprawling truck stop, a beacon of transient lives, knowing his fight was far from over. But he would not break. The company dispatch office hummed with the stale scent of industrial coffee and the low thrum of computers. Early morning light struggled to penetrate the grime-streaked windows. Lena Sharma stepped inside, dressed in practical, unassuming clothes that blended seamlessly with the office's utilitarian aesthetic. She carried a generic backpack and wore a pair of sensible, worn-looking boots, a far cry from the tailored suits and polished heels of her executive life. She was the new CEO, but today she was merely a new operations intern. Marcus Thorne, the lead dispatcher, was perched on the edge of a desk, loudly barking into his phone, completely oblivious to Lena's presence. His bulk filled the space, his voice echoing over the clatter of keyboards. He gestured dismissively to a junior dispatcher when Lena approached, barely glancing up from his call. Yeah, the new intern. She's with Vance today. Show her the ropes or whatever." He waved a hand, dismissing her before she'd even properly introduced herself. Lena offered a polite, firm nod, her gaze sweeping the cluttered office, filing away every detail. The overflowing trash cans, the outdated posters, the general air of disarray. This place, she observed, was a microcosm of a larger problem. Out in the sprawling company parking lot, the air was crisp and diesel-scented. Eli Vance, a figure of quiet competence, moved with practiced ease around his massive truck, performing his pre-trip inspection. He checked the tires, the lights, the fluid levels, a meticulous dance of safety and responsibility. Lena approached him, a small notepad in her hand, feigning a slight nervousness. "Mr. Vance? Hi, I'm Lena Sharma. I'm the new operations intern. Marcus assigned me to ride along with you today for training," she said, her voice soft but clear. Eli straightened, his expression unreadable, a flicker of wariness in his eyes that he quickly masked. He looked her up and down, a quick, professional assessment. "Vance," he corrected gently, then offered a brief, curt nod. "All right, intern, we got a long haul. You ready to see how it's really done out here?" His tone was polite, professional, but held an underlying reserve, a shield he'd learned to deploy after years on the road. Lena simply nodded, a small, eager smile on her face, already making mental notes about his cautious demeanor. The highway unfolded before them, a ribbon of asphalt stretching into the early morning haze. Inside the cab, the hum of the engine was a constant companion. Lena sat quietly, observing. Eli drove with a quiet authority, his hands steady on the wheel, his eyes constantly scanning the road, the mirrors, the gauges. He maintained a precise, legal speed, never once pushing the limits, even when other, smaller vehicles zipped past impatiently. Lena noticed the small, almost imperceptible habits, the way he double-checked his blind spots, the smooth, unhurried gear changes, the disciplined adherence to every posted sign. This was not the driver Marcus had described, a man who needed to get creative with his logs. This was a professional, a veteran who understood the weight of his cargo and the fragility of human life. Occasionally, Eli's gaze would flick to his rearview mirror, a brief, almost involuntary gesture. Lena wondered if he was checking on her, or if it was a deeper, ingrained vigilance, perhaps a lingering unease from the pressures Marcus had already exerted. The quiet efficiency of his movements spoke volumes, contrasting sharply with the chaotic demands she'd already heard from the dispatcher. Hours bled into each other, marked by the changing landscape outside the window and Eli's unvarying routine. Lena watched him meticulously. At every scheduled stop, he performed mini-inspections, checking his tires and connections. His logbook was a testament to his discipline. Every break, every stop, every hour driven was recorded with precise, almost calligraphic neatness. There were no shortcuts, no fudge numbers, no attempts to shave off minutes. Lena discreetly checked her own watch, comparing Eli's actual progress against the aggressive delivery schedule Marcus had outlined. The numbers didn't lie. Eli, adhering strictly to federal hours of service regulations, was falling behind the dispatcher's unrealistic timeline. It wasn't because Eli was slow. It was because Marcus's schedule was, by design, impossible to meet legally. The realization solidified in Lena's mind. Marcus wasn't just demanding efficiency. He was implicitly, and sometimes explicitly, demanding illegal compliance. The air in the roadside diner was thick with the aroma of stale coffee and sizzling bacon. Truckers, a transient brotherhood, filled the booths, their conversations a low rumble of shared experiences. Lena, nursing a lukewarm coffee, pretended to be engrossed in her notepad, but her ears were finely tuned to the voices around her. Eli sat across from her, his weary smile a familiar sight. She overheard snippets of conversation from neighboring tables. "Another one of Marcus's special loads, eh?" a burly trucker grumbled. "Always pushing you to break the law for his fast delivery bonuses." Another chimed in, "Yeah, the guy's got a real knack for giving us headaches, especially if you don't play ball." Eli, though silent, subtly nodded in agreement. Later, he offered a veiled complaint of his own. "Some folks in dispatch, they just have unrealistic expectations." Lena pieced it together. Marcus wasn't just generally difficult. He was actively targeting drivers like Eli, those who refused to compromise safety for speed. The solidarity among the truckers was a clear indication of a widespread systemic issue. Later that afternoon, as Eli pulled his rig into a bustling rest stop, Lena decided to probe a little deeper. The engine idled, a steady rumble as she turned to him, her expression one of innocent curiosity. "Mr. Vance," she began, "I'm still trying to understand the dispatch system. Are there any particular challenges you face with it? Any dispatchers who are, well, harder to work with than others?" Eli's gaze drifted to the endless line of trucks outside, his jaw tightening almost imperceptibly. He hesitated, clearly weighing his words. "Some dispatchers push harder than others, yes," he finally admitted, his voice low. He didn't name Marcus, but the implied weight behind his tone, the slight shift in his posture, spoke volumes. "They forget we're driving tons of steel, not sending emails. Rules are there for a reason." Lena nodded thoughtfully, pretending to jot down notes. Her casual inquiry had confirmed her suspicions. The pressure Eli faced was not an isolated incident, but a targeted campaign by a specific individual. In the quiet solitude of her anonymous motel room, the day's observations unspooled in Lena's mind. Papers lay scattered across the desk. Her meticulously detailed notes, Eli's route manifest, a printed copy of the company's official safety policy. She highlighted every instance of Marcus's unreasonable demands she'd witnessed or inferred, cross-referencing them with Eli's consistent legal logbook entries. The contrast was stark, damning. Eli's integrity shone brightly against the backdrop of Marcus's coercive tactics. Lena's initial suspicions about the dispatcher's abuse of power and disregard for safety had solidified into certainty. A cold, determined anger began to build within her. This wasn't just about a disgruntled employee. It was about a systemic failure that put lives at risk and unjustly punished honest, hard-working individuals. Her resolve hardened. She knew now she would have to dig deeper, beyond mere observation, to unearth the full truth. The rhythmic drone of the engine was a familiar lullaby, but the sudden, sharp buzz of Eli's comm system cut through it like a rusty blade. He glanced at the screen, Marcus Thorne's name flashing, and a familiar knot tightened in his stomach. Lena, seated quietly in the passenger seat, subtly adjusted her phone, the screen dark, but the recording light a tiny, almost imperceptible pinprick. Marcus's voice crackled through the speakers, a forced joviality barely masking his impatience. "Eli, my man, good to hear your voice. Look, we got a situation. Client's breathing down my neck for this delivery. You're running a little behind, but nothing a little creativity can't fix. Get me? Just get that logbook looking pretty for me, buddy. Shave off an hour or two here, a quick nap there. No one's gonna know." Eli's jaw hardened, his eyes fixed on the endless stretch of asphalt. "Marcus, you know I can't do that. Federal HOS regulations are non-negotiable. My log is accurate. I'll make the delivery as fast as legally possible, but I won't falsify my records." His voice was calm, steady, but the steel beneath it was unmistakable. Lena watched him, her expression unreadable, but a flicker of admiration sparked in her eyes. The line went dead, Marcus's frustration a palpable echo in the cabin. Eli sighed, a long, weary exhalation that seemed to carry the weight of countless miles. "Sorry about that, Lena," he said, turning slightly to her. "Part of the job, I guess." Lena, still holding her phone, nodded. "No worries. But creative logs? What does that even mean?" Eli leaned forward, resting his forearms on the steering wheel. "It means he wants me to lie. Say I drove less, rested more, so I can legally get to the destination faster than the law allows." He gestured vaguely to the dashboard, where a small, well-worn safety manual sat. "Those rules aren't just for show, intern. I once saw a rookie driver, good kid, pushed by dispatch, ran his logs, creative, fell asleep at the wheel, took out a family of 4. Wasn't his fault he was tired, but it was his signature on that falsified log. I won't be that man." Lena's gaze intensified. His conviction wasn't just professional. It was deeply personal. Later that day, parked at a desolate rest stop for his mandated break, Eli's phone vibrated aggressively. It was Marcus again. This time, the forced joviality was gone, replaced by undisguised venom. "So you think you're above company policy, Vance? Think your principles are more important than our clients? I just got off the phone with the client, and they're furious. You're gonna be late, and that's on asterisk your head, not mine. I'll make sure your insubordination goes straight to HR. Your perfect record won't save you this time, Eli. You're looking at termination if you don't start playing ball." Eli's grip tightened on the phone, his knuckles white. He remained silent, allowing Marcus to vent, but Lena could see the visible tension in his shoulders, the clench of his jaw. Her own hand subtly moved, hovering over the screen of her phone, ensuring the call was still being recorded. "Understood, Marcus," Eli finally said, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. "But I will not break federal law. My integrity and the safety of everyone on the road comes first." Marcus's sputtering rage dissolved into a click, leaving a heavy silence in the truck cabin. Eli ran a hand over his tired face. "Apologies again, Lena. My dispatcher can be a bit much. Stress of the job, I suppose." He offered a weary, almost apologetic smile. Lena met his gaze, her expression neutral. "No need to apologize, Eli. It sounds like a tough job. And everyone handles stress differently." Internally, however, Lena was connecting dots at lightning speed. Eli's downplaying of the situation, Marcus's escalating threats. It wasn't just stress. This was a calculated pattern of abusive control, designed to break drivers into compliance. She subtly checked her phone, confirming the recordings were secure. The evidence was mounting, and Eli's unwavering resolve in the face of such blatant intimidation only strengthened her own. As the miles blurred beneath them, Lena continued her meticulous observations. At way stations, she noticed Eli meticulously verifying his load and permits, always within legal limits. At delivery docks, she saw him patiently waiting for his turn, never attempting to cut lines or rush. She compared his diligent adherence to the aggressive schedules Marcus had set, schedules that often seemed to defy the very laws Eli upheld. And then there were the routes themselves. Marcus consistently assigned Eli routes with tight turnarounds, often pushing the legal limits of driving hours even phrase without traffic. Yet through discreet glances at other company trucks and overheard conversations at truck stops, Lena noticed a stark contrast. Certain golden boys in the fleet seemed to get routes that were far more lenient, more realistic, always arriving on time without the same pressure. The pattern solidified. Marcus wasn't just demanding speed. He was systematically setting up drivers like Eli for failure, then punishing them for their integrity. The aroma of stale coffee and fried food filled the bustling truck stop diner that evening. Eli and Lena sat at a worn booth, Eli quietly eating, Lena pretending to be engrossed in a greasy menu. At the next table, 2 burly truckers spoke in hushed, yet easily audible tones. "Heard old Manford got another speed bonus from Thorne." One grumbled, stirring his coffee. "Yeah, Marcus loves his fast deliveries, especially if they're from that new client. Heard he gets a little textra on the side for those. Kickbacks, you know?" the other trucker snorted. "Wouldn't surprise me. Always pushing us to cut corners, then he's suddenly got a new watch." Eli, though silent, subtly tensed, his gaze fixed on his plate. He knew the rumors. Lena, however, felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. It wasn't just about control and bullying. Marcus was profiting directly from endangering his drivers and the public. That night, in the sterile anonymity of her motel room, Lena's laptop glowed, illuminating her focused face. She accessed the company network using her secure, owner-level credentials, bypassing any firewalls Marcus might have put in place. The rumors she'd just overheard provided a new angle. She delved into bonus payouts, cross-referencing them with client contracts and delivery times. What she found was damning. a clear trail of performance bonuses tied to specific, impossibly fast deliveries for the new, high-value client, deliveries often personally approved by Marcus. Furthermore, she uncovered suspicious discrepancies in fuel and maintenance logs for some of these same routes, hinting at inflated costs and potential embezzlement. Marcus wasn't just abusive, he was dirty. The digital footprints he thought he'd covered were now laid bare. The next morning, as they approached the final delivery point, Eli was forced to pull over, his legally mandated rest period kicking in. The delivery would be officially, quote, late. Almost immediately, Marcus's furious voice erupted through the speaker. "Vance, what are you doing? I just got a call. You're parked. This is going to cost us, and it's coming out of your next paycheck. And don't bother looking for a decent assignment next week, you hear me?" Eli sat there enduring the tirade, his face a mask of weary resignation. His integrity, once again, was costing him directly. Lena watched him, her hand clenching into a tight fist. The quiet idling of the truck was a stark contrast to the storm raging within her. She had seen enough. The evidence was complete. The company headquarters was a ghost town after hours, the only sounds the hum of distant servers and the soft click of Lena Sharma's sensible shoes on polished linoleum. Her intern badge, usually a symbol of her low status, now became her master key. She slipped into the dispatch office, a space usually buzzing with Marcus's booming voice, now eerily silent. Her phone, set to silent, became her silent witness. Meticulously, Lena photographed the physical logbooks stacked on Marcus's desk, each entry a potential lie. She documented employee records, scanning for patterns in late deliveries and disciplinary actions, the very tools Marcus used to punish those who dared to follow the rules. Every muted click of her camera felt like another nail in Marcus's coffin. The ultimate infiltration. The CEO risks discovery to gather irrefutable evidence against a corrupt manager. Marcus's private office, usually kept locked, offered no real barrier to its true owner. Lena produced a master key, the quiet click of the tumblers, a stark contrast to the storm brewing inside her. The air was thick with the scent of stale coffee and Marcus's cheap cologne. What she found confirmed her darkest suspicions. Hidden beneath a stack of old invoices were ledgers, scrawled with numbers that didn't appear in any official books. Personal correspondence detailed commissions and expediting fees from clients who demanded illegal shortcuts, the very ones Marcus pushed on his drivers. Then, the sickening punch to the gut. Direct evidence of Marcus manipulating company data, deleting late delivery reports, and fabricating on-time statuses to cover his tracks. A hidden world of corruption exposed. The CEO uncovers the shocking depth of her manager's criminal enterprise. The outrage simmered, a cold, hard fire in her gut. He wasn't just cruel. He was a criminal, endangering lives for a dirty profit. Back in her temporary office, a quiet conference room on the executive floor, long after the last cleaning crew had departed, Lena spread her bounty. Recorded calls, digital logs from the company server, the physical documents, and Marcus's incriminating ledgers lay before her like pieces of a gruesome puzzle. Her mind, sharp and analytical, began to connect the dots. A clear, sickening pattern emerged. Marcus falsifying delivery times, creating ghost loads that never existed, all to justify his bonuses and client kickbacks. Her fingers flew across her keyboard, compiling a comprehensive report. Page after page detailed Marcus's fraud and his targeted harassment of Eli Vance, the quiet, principled man who refused to break. The methodical dismantling of a criminal enterprise. Watching the evidence stack up, piece by damning piece. Righteous anger fueled her, pushing away the fatigue of the long night. This wasn't just about Marcus. It was about every driver he'd exploited. As Lena delved deeper into the employee files, a chilling realization solidified her resolve. She found them, multiple, well-documented complaints filed by Eli Vance against Marcus Thorne. Each one detailed safety violations, unreasonable demands, and harassment. Each one had been systematically ignored, dismissed, or buried in a bureaucratic black hole. The dates stretched back years, painting a harrowing picture of Eli's quiet endurance, his unwavering commitment to safety against a tide of indifference. This wasn't just Marcus's corruption. It was the company's prior negligence, a systemic failure that had allowed a predator to thrive. The heartbreaking truth: a good man's cries for help were ignored, fueling the current crisis. Lena's jaw tightened. Eli hadn't just been a victim. He had been a warning ignored, his integrity a threat to the rotten core of the old guard. Lena reviewed her findings, the scope of the problem expanding beyond Marcus. He wasn't an anomaly, but a symptom. His corruption had been enabled by a glaring lack of oversight, a corporate culture that either turned a blind eye or, worse, subtly benefited from similar practices. Other managers had looked the other way, intimidated or complicit. Her mission, initially focused on one corrupt dispatcher, now broadened. This wasn't just about exposing Marcus. It was about reforming the entire company culture, tearing out the roots of unethical practices, and planting seeds of accountability and ethics. Beyond the villain, the CEO realizes the corruption is deeper than one man, requiring a total overhaul. She sketched a new organizational chart, notes on accountability and ethics scrawled in the margins. This was a battle for the soul of the company. Just as dawn began to paint the sky, Lena found it, the final, undeniable piece of evidence. A recent email from Marcus to one of his Golden Boy drivers, explicit in its instructions. "Get creative with those logs, buddy," Marcus had written. "And don't worry about the hours. Client needs this yesterday, and there's a bonus in it for you and for me." The email contained verifiable details of the fraudulent scheme, clear instructions to falsify logs, and the promise of extra, illicit payment. This was the smoking gun. Irrefutable proof, directly linking Marcus to illegal activity and endangering his drivers. The smoking gun. The final, undeniable proof that guarantees justice and ensures the villain's downfall. Lena leaned back, a triumphant, grim smile touching her lips. The case was closed. Lena closed her laptop, the comprehensive file now complete, a digital fortress of damning evidence. She took a deep breath, the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders, but it was a weight of certainty, not doubt. The rising sun outside her office window cast long, golden shadows across the room, illuminating her confident posture. A quiet sense of calm settled over her. Justice was not just a concept, it was imminent, tangible, and she was the instrument. She had seen the truth, meticulously gathered it, and now she would deliver it. The calm before the storm. The CEO, armed with irrefutable proof, prepares to unleash justice. Tomorrow, the mask would come off. The familiar roar of Eli Vance's truck engine rumbled to a halt in the company yard, the morning sun still battling the last vestiges of pre-dawn gloom. Eli killed the engine, the sudden silence heavy with the usual dread that clung to this place. Another grueling haul, another round of calls from Marcus Thorne, another day facing the consequences of his integrity. Beside him, Lena Sharma, still dressed in her unassuming intern attire, gathered her small bag. Her movements were calm, almost serene, yet Eli caught a subtle glint in her eyes, a quiet anticipation that seemed out of place. "Thanks for the ride, Eli," she said, her voice soft but with an undertone that suggested far more than mere politeness. Eli simply nodded, his gaze fixed on the grimy asphalt, a weary politeness, his only response. He had no idea the day ahead would be anything but usual. Inside the dispatch office, Marcus Thorne was in his element, holding court over a junior dispatcher. His booming voice echoed through the cubicles, a constant, grating presence. "Look, Johnson, it's not rocket science. Speed equals profit. You want to move up, you learn to squeeze every last minute out of these routes." He puffed out his chest, oblivious to the uneasy glances exchanged by other employees. Then, his eyes landed on Eli, who was quietly heading towards the locker room. Marcus's face twisted into a sneer. "Speak of the devil. Eli, glad you finally made it. Must have stopped for a nap, huh? Some of us actually work for a living." A few chuckles, forced and nervous, rippled through the room. No one dared challenge Marcus. His cruelty was a known, unchecked force. His arrogance, however, was about to meet its match. A sudden terse announcement crackled over the intercom. "All staff, please report to the break room for an urgent company meeting, immediately." A ripple of confusion spread through the office. Urgent meetings were rare, and never without prior notice. Marcus, ever the self-important one, straightened his tie, assuming it was a routine announcement he would no doubt dominate. He swaggered into the break room, taking a prominent spot near the front, ready to hold forth. Eli, drawn by the summons, entered quietly, his brow furrowed with a mixture of weariness and apprehension. He stood at the back, confused by the sudden gathering. Lena, however, moved with purpose, positioning herself strategically near the front, her unassuming posture belying the storm she was about to unleash. The room buzzed with murmurs, a collective unease hanging in the air, a sense that something significant was about to unfold. Lena Sharma stepped forward, her calm demeanor suddenly commanding the attention of the entire room. The casual intern facade dropped away, replaced by an undeniable aura of authority. "Good morning, everyone," she began, her voice clear and strong, cutting through the murmurs like a finely honed blade. "My name is Lena Sharma, and I am the new CEO of this company." A collective gasp ripped through the room. A fork clattered onto a plate. Eli's eyes widened, his lips parting in stunned disbelief. He stared at the woman he had just driven for 2 days. The quiet intern, now revealed as the ultimate authority. Marcus Thorne, who had been leaning against a counter with a confident smirk, felt his face drain of all color. The smirk faltered, then vanished, replaced by a look of utter disbelieving shock. The room went dead silent, every eye fixed on Lena, waiting for the inevitable. Lena didn't waste a moment. With a crisp gesture, the large screen behind her flickered to life, displaying a series of damning projections. "For the past few days," she continued, her voice unwavering, "I've been riding along, observing. And what I've observed, alongside what I've uncovered in our company records, is deeply disturbing." The screen displayed the recorded phone calls, Marcus's voice booming, explicitly telling Eli to get creative with his logs. Then came the falsified delivery times, the inflated fuel costs, the hidden ledgers detailing kickbacks. "Marcus Thorne," Lena stated, her gaze locking onto him, "you have systematically pressured our drivers to violate federal safety regulations, endangered lives for personal gain, and targeted ethical employees like Eli Vance." Marcus, pale and trembling, tried to interrupt. "This is ridiculous. Lies. He's just a disgruntled." But Lena's steely gaze cut him off, her voice rising slightly. "The evidence, Mr. Thorne, speaks for itself." Marcus Thorne's bravado, once his shield, shattered completely. His face contorted, sweat beading on his forehead. "No, you can't prove any of this. It's Eli. He's lazy. He's the one always complaining," he stammered, pointing a trembling finger at Eli, then at other staff members. "They're all in on it. They're trying to frame me." His voice cracked with desperation, a pathetic echo of his former arrogance. Lena, however, remained utterly composed. She calmly clicked a remote, bringing up an email from Marcus to a Golden Boy driver, explicitly detailing a fraudulent log entry and an extra payment. "Every accusation you make, Mr. Thorne," Lena stated, her voice devoid of emotion, "is refuted by the irrefutable evidence I have gathered. Your lies, your threats, your schemes, they are all here, in black and white, and in your own voice." The staff watched, disgusted, as their tyrant crumbled before their eyes. Lena turned, her gaze sweeping across the room until it landed on a quiet, unassuming man in a dark suit who had been observing from the side. He was the company's head of security, brought in specifically for this moment. "Mr. Davies," Lena said, her tone formal and decisive, "I believe you have everything you need." She handed him a thick, meticulously compiled folder. Contained within are comprehensive details of fraud, endangerment of employees through safety violations, and systematic harassment. "I trust you will proceed accordingly." Mr. Davies, a man of few words, nodded grimly, accepting the folder. The weight of the evidence was palpable. Even Marcus, now a defeated slump, seemed to feel its finality. His reign of corruption had reached its definitive end. Just as the gravity of Lena's words settled, 2 uniformed police officers entered the break room. Their presence alone silenced any lingering whispers. Lena, without hesitation, pointed a steady finger at Marcus. "There," she stated, her voice firm. "He's the one." The officers moved with swift, professional efficiency. Marcus, seeing the handcuffs, let out a desperate, guttural cry. "Wait! You can't! This isn't! I have rights!" But his protests were futile, his words hollow. The metallic snap of the cuffs, echoed through the stunned silence of the room. He was led away, his desperate shouts fading as he was escorted out. Eli, who had stood frozen at the back, felt a wave of profound relief wash over him. The weight of years of injustice, of silent suffering, began to lift. Justice, intelligent and decisive, had finally arrived. The silence that fell after Marcus Thorne was led away wasn't just quiet. It was a vacuum, sucking out years of accumulated tension and fear. Then, a collective sigh rippled through the break room, a sound of release, so profound it was almost audible. Employees looked at each other, some with wide eyes of disbelief, others with knowing nods of vindication. Lena Sharma stepped forward, her posture radiating calm authority. "I understand this has been a lot," she began, her voice clear and strong. "But let me assure you, this marks a new beginning for this company. A new era where transparency isn't just a buzzword, and ethical conduct isn't just a suggestion." She met the gaze of several stunned faces. "From this day forward, integrity will not just be expected, it will be rewarded. And dishonesty in any form will not be tolerated." Grateful murmurs spread through the room, a collective weight visibly lifting. The air, once heavy with unspoken complaints, now hummed with a fragile but powerful hope. Outside, in the stark light of the company parking lot, Marcus Thorne was still shouting. His voice, once a booming instrument of intimidation, was now a pathetic, desperate squawk against the stoic silence of the two uniformed officers. "You can't do this. I'm vital to this company. You'll regret this, Lena. You'll all regret it." He struggled against the cuffs, his face mottled with rage and fear. But the officers were unyielding. They pushed him into the back of a patrol car. The door slammed shut with a definitive thud, cutting off his impotent threats. As the cruiser pulled away, its siren mercifully silent, Marcus's face was a distorted mask of defeat in the rear window. His words faded into the hum of distant traffic, disappearing as completely as his power had. The closure of the garage door behind the retreating vehicle felt like a final, satisfying seal on his downfall. Justice, it seemed, had a very efficient sense of timing. Back in the break room, a hush had settled. Eli Vance stood at the back, still processing the whirlwind of events. His shoulders, usually hunched with the invisible weight of the road and Marcus's demands, were beginning to relax. He watched Lena as she spoke with a few grateful employees, a quiet strength emanating from her. Then, she turned and walked directly towards him. "Eli," she said, her voice softer now but no less sincere. "Thank you. For everything." She looked him directly in the eye, a gaze of deep respect. "Your unwavering integrity. Your commitment to safety, even when it cost you personally, it did not go unnoticed. And I've seen your past complaints. They were valid, and they should have been addressed." Eli's breath hitched. To hear his quiet struggles, his lonely principled stands, acknowledged so openly, so genuinely, was overwhelming. His hand trembled slightly as he instinctively reached for his chest. A tear, unbidden, welled in the corner of his eye, a silent testament to the burden he had carried and the relief that now washed over him. He tried to speak, but only a choked sound escaped. Lena turned back to the assembled staff, her voice ringing with renewed purpose. "Before we move forward, I want to make a public apology." A new wave of surprise rippled through the room. "As the new CEO, I take full responsibility for the systemic issues that allowed Marcus Thorne's behavior to fester unchecked for far too long. To all of you who endured his abuse, who felt unheard, I am truly sorry. That era ends today." She paused, letting her words sink in, then her gaze found Eli again. "And to mark this new beginning, I have an announcement." She gestured for Eli to step forward. He did so, his movements still a little dazed. "Elijah Vance," Lena declared, her voice firm and clear, "for your unwavering dedication to safety, your impeccable record, and your profound integrity in the face of immense pressure, I am promoting you to head of driver relations and safety compliance." A stunned silence. Then, an eruption of applause. It started as a ripple and grew into a roaring wave, employees clapping, some cheering, others wiping away tears. Eli, his eyes wide, gave a humble, almost shy nod, a quiet smile of pride finally spreading across his face. Later that day, in Lena's newly designated CEO office, still somewhat bare but filled with a vibrant energy, Eli and Lena sat across from each other. They pored over documents. A blueprint for a new driver training program spread between them. "This role isn't just about enforcing rules, Eli," Lena explained, tapping a section on the blueprint. "It's about building a culture, ensuring every driver feels heard, respected, and safe. You'll be instrumental in developing new safety protocols and a support system that prevents anyone from ever facing the pressures you did." Eli listened intently, his previous weariness replaced by a quiet intensity. "I'm ready, Miss Sharma," he said, his voice firm. "I've seen what happens when corners are cut. I've seen the impact on good people. I'm committed to your vision. It's what I've always believed in." They shook hands across the desk, a firm, decisive grip. It wasn't just a professional agreement. It was a partnership, built on mutual respect and shared values, a foundation for transforming the company from the ground up. A few weeks later, the company dispatch office was a different place. The harsh, fluorescent lights seemed softer, the air less brittle. Eli Vance, now head of driver relations, moved with a newfound confidence. He oversaw a team of new dispatchers who communicated with drivers respectfully, their voices calm and helpful, prioritizing safety and legal hours above impossible deadlines. The incessant, aggressive ringing of phones had been replaced by a steady, efficient hum. Truckers, once hunched and anxious, now left with smiles, their logbooks accurately reflecting every hour on the road. There were no more whispers of golden boys or kickbacks. The atmosphere was one of mutual respect and clear ethical guidelines. Eli watched a young dispatcher patiently explain a route adjustment to a new driver, a stark contrast to Marcus's bullying. He felt a quiet satisfaction. The road ahead, for everyone here, felt lighter, cleaner. From her office overlooking the bustling yet harmonious truck yard, Lena Sharma watched the last trucks of the day rumble out, their taillights disappearing into the dusk. A profound sense of peace settled over her. She thought of Eli Vance, his quiet strength, his unwavering commitment to doing the right thing, even when it cost him dearly. His resilience had been a beacon, confirming her conviction that true leadership meant fostering integrity, not just demanding compliance. The company now ran on principles, not fear. It was a testament to her vision, yes, but more so to the countless individuals like Eli, who kept showing up, who chose honor over expediency. Justice had been served, not just for Marcus Thorne's crimes, but for a broken system. And in its wake, integrity had not only prevailed, but had become the very engine driving a new horizon.